In darkness, secrets thrive, and the most shocking ones often lie hidden in the corridors of power. In the annals of history, there exists a shadowy chapter filled with tales of secret and unethical experiments conducted by those in power. These are not stories plucked from the realm of science fiction, but chilling episodes from our own past, where the lines between morality and the pursuit of knowledge were blurred, if not completely erased. From mind control to biological warfare, from radiation poisoning to unethical human trials, the extent of these clandestine operations is as vast as it is disturbing. Often masked by the cloak of national security, these experiments were kept shrouded from public view, their true nature known only to a select few. But as with all secrets, the truth eventually finds its way to the fore. Today we pull back the curtain on some of these chilling ventures into the unknown, for it is only by examining our past, however uncomfortable, can we hope to navigate a more ethical future. The MKUltra program, a chilling example of the government's foray into mind control. In the mid-20th century, a covert operation swept across the United States under the auspices of the Central Intelligence Agency. Codenamed MKUltra, this clandestine program aimed to manipulate mental states and alter brain functions. Imagine a world where your thoughts are not your own, where your mind can be controlled by someone else. That's the world MKUltra sought to create. Using a cocktail of techniques, from the administration of psychotropic drugs like LSD to hypnosis and even torture, the architects of MKUltra sought to bend the will of their subjects to their own designs. The primary victims of these experiments? Unwitting citizens, ordinary people, unaware they were part of a grand and ethically dubious experiment. They were manipulated, their mental states toyed with, their lives irreversibly altered. The impact on these individuals was profound, with many suffering long-term psychological damage. But the true horror of MKUltra lies not in the details we know, but in those that remain hidden. Despite attempts to expose the program, the full scope of MKUltra remains shrouded in secrecy. Thousands of documents were reportedly destroyed by the CIA in the early 70s, effectively burying the depths of the project's reach and impact. In the grand scheme of secret, unethical government experiments, MKUltra stands as a stark reminder of the lengths to which those in power are willing to go in the name of national security. It's a haunting testament to the misuse of authority, the disregard for human rights and dignity, and the dark side of government operations. A dark chapter in the annals of government experimentation, MKUltra's secrets continue to ripple through time. As we delve further into the shadowy world of covert government operations, bear in mind the lessons of MKUltra. The quest for control, the disregard for ethics, and the haunting legacy that such experiments leave behind. Operation Sea Spray and Operation Big Buzz, two harrowing tales of biological warfare tested on the American public. Let's first sail into the misty waters of Operation Sea Spray. In the year 1950, the U.S. Navy embarked on a clandestine mission. The city of San Francisco was unknowingly used as a petri dish when the Navy released a bacteria called Serratia marcescens into its foggy air. The objective? To study the potential of biological warfare and the city's vulnerability to such an attack. The aftermath was alarming. Many residents fell ill, suffering from urinary tract infections and pneumonia. Yet, the full extent of the impact remains locked away, with details still classified to this day. Now let's buzz into the disturbing saga of Operation Big Buzz. Fast forward 5 years to 1955, the U.S. Army, in an audacious move, released millions of mosquitoes over parts of Georgia and Florida. These were not your ordinary summer pests, though. They were deliberately infected with yellow fever. The unsuspecting residents were left to fend off these tiny carriers of disease, unwitting participants in a chilling experiment to test the transmission of biological weapons. The scope of the operation and its impact on the public health is still a matter of speculation, as the government remains tight-lipped about the details. These operations, shrouded in secrecy, underscore the lengths taken in the name of national security. They serve as stark reminders of a time when the line between ethical research and human rights was blurred, when the guardians of the nation crossed boundaries in their quest for supremacy. Yet, the full story of Operation Sea Spray and Big Buzz, like many others, remains largely untold. The details buried deep in the vaults of classified information. Just how much more is hidden in these vaults the public may never know. Delving further into the shadows, we encounter the human radiation experiments and Project 112. Between the years of 1944 to 1974, a chilling series of tests were conducted across multiple agencies. Thousands of unsuspecting subjects were exposed to radiation poisoning, all in the name of research. Men, women, children, no demographic was exempt. Most were left in the dark about the true nature of these experiments, and many were left to grapple with lifelong health issues as a result. These tests were as varied as they were numerous. Some involved injecting plutonium into hospital patients, while others entailed releasing radioactive material into populated areas. The overarching goal? To study the effects of radiation exposure on the human body. These experiments were conducted under the shroud of national security, but at what cost? This brings us to Project 112, a series of tests conducted by the U.S. Department of Defense during the 1960s. Here, naval personnel were exposed to biological and chemical agents such as sarin and VX gas on ships. The intent was to test the toxicity of these substances, as well as examine potential decontamination processes. Unfortunately, like many of the other experiments we've discussed, the details surrounding Project 112 are scarce. Those who were unwittingly subjected to these tests paid a hefty price. Many suffered from a variety of health issues, including cancer, birth defects, and other debilitating conditions. Some were left to deal with the psychological trauma of being used as human guinea pigs. And yet, the full extent of these experiments remains shrouded in secrecy. Many records have been lost or destroyed, and what remains is heavily redacted. We may never know the full extent of the damage caused by these experiments or the number of lives irrevocably altered. In these chilling experiments, the cost of knowledge was measured in human lives and suffering. The Edgewood Arsenal experiments and the Tuskegee Syphilis Study, two disturbing examples of human trials conducted without consent. Let's delve into the Edgewood Arsenal experiments first. Between the years of 1948 and 1975, the U.S. Army Chemical Corps decided to play scientist in a most unsettling way. They administered psychotropic drugs like LSD, PCP, and BZ to around 7,000 soldiers. These substances were not given for any medical purpose, but rather to study their effects on the human mind. The soldiers, unwitting guinea pigs, were not informed of the nature of these drugs or the potential side effects. Many of them suffered as a result. Not just in the immediate aftermath, but with long-lasting damage. Psychological trauma, flashbacks, and even permanent damage to their mental health were some of the devastating consequences. Now let's turn to the Tuskegee Syphilis Study. This was a 40-year-long experiment conducted by the U.S. Public Health Service. They studied hundreds of impoverished African-American men infected with syphilis. But here's the catch: these men were intentionally not treated. The men were told they were receiving free healthcare, a cruel deception that allowed the progression of a disease that could have been treated. The fallout was tragic. Not only did many of the men suffer the severe and often deadly effects of untreated syphilis, but they also unknowingly spread the disease to their partners and children. The Edgewood Arsenal experiments and the Tuskegee Syphilis Study represent a dark chapter in the annals of scientific research. They reflect a disregard for human life and dignity in the pursuit of knowledge. These deeply unethical studies stand as a stark reminder of the dark side of scientific curiosity. Project Shad, a covert operation conducted in the vast expanses of the Pacific Ocean. Now imagine the serene Pacific Ocean turned into a clandestine test site. This was the reality during the 1960s with Project Shad, an operation run by the Department of Defense. Their objective? To test decontamination and survivability of service members in the face of biological and chemical warfare. But the service members, out in the open sea, were unaware. They were exposed to these perilous agents without their knowledge, without their consent. They were unknowingly turned into test subjects in a potentially life-threatening experiment. Secrecy shrouded the project. Details were hushed up, kept away from the prying eyes of the public. The true extent of the project, the number of tests conducted, the long-term effects on the unknowing service members remain unclear, locked away in the vaults of classified information. Project Shad serves as a grim testament to the hidden dangers that lurk beneath the waves of secrecy. Many more secrets remain shrouded in the darkness of classified documents and destroyed records. In the murky waters of clandestine operations, we find that the examples we've explored are just the tip of an iceberg, chillingly deep and vast. The covert nature of these experiments, the veils of national security, and the passage of time have conspired to keep many truths hidden from public view. Our journey through these unethical government experiments has shown us the lengths to which agencies have gone in the name of progress, defense, and sometimes mere curiosity. But what else lurks beneath the surface? How many more stories are there of unsuspecting citizens being used as pawns in the chess game of scientific discovery and military might? Consider the countless classified operations that are still buried in secrecy. Think about the experiments that never saw the light of day, their files destroyed or locked away in some forgotten vault. The full scope of these covert undertakings may be far greater than what we've uncovered so far. It's a sobering thought that there may be countless other stories, just as shocking, just as unethical, that we might never hear about. The people affected, their lives forever altered, might never see justice or even acknowledgement. The possibility of such unseen horrors is not just speculation, it's a reality supported by the track record of unethical experimentation we've already uncovered. In the name of national security, in the pursuit of knowledge, boundaries were crossed, ethics were ignored, and lives were forever changed. It's a grim reminder of the dark side of power and the lengths to which some will go to hold on to it or expand it. As we delve into the shadows of the past, one thing becomes clear. The public may never know the disturbing extent of unethical experimentation conducted in the shadows,